here, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm at your size
we'll
now.
Move it down.
No, I won't touch it. So my name's Doug Spindler. I'm one of the organizers for B-Sides this year. Thank you for attending. Today we have
Rachael Inninger?
Rachael, and you're a prolific blogger, right?
No.
No, that was somebody else's bio.
Sorry, I don't have a blog.
You have, anyway, your presentation is why can't we have nice things? And I want to know, why can't we?
Because we can't resolve conflicts.
I see. So you can tell me, sit down and listen to your presentation, and then I'll have the answer.
That'll
and
work,
I'll join you in 25 minutes, okay?
All right.
So go for it. Thank you.
Okay, hi, everybody. My name is Rachael Inninger. I've been in information security and risk management for about 12 years, and I'm here to tell you why we can't have nice things. Don't worry too much about notes. There's going to be a handout at the end. We're going to put it at the end there, but I figured if I brought it out early, everybody would be reading instead of watching. The information security field is pretty notorious for having trouble getting along. With management, with business, with technology, with each other. There's just a lot of conflict.
Is that rated X?
No.
I don't know what you're into.
I mean, in a Rule 34 sense, maybe, but no. With all the problems we have, it can be easy to forget that the opposite of conflict is not harmony. The opposite of conflict is groupthink and dumbass decisions. We don't need less conflict. We need less stupid conflict.
Yes.
So a lot of conferences will have this talk, and I'd always go to them, and I'd always come away kind of unhappy. There were always two problems. One, it was just stories and anecdotes and the personal pet peeve of the speaker and maybe projecting their own issues. It was kind of hard to tell. I mean, do we really not collaborate enough? Do we really lack empathy? There was never any research. The other problem was the answer pretty much always boiled down to have better social skills. This is true. It is inarguable. It is also completely inactionable, at least it was for me. If I could have better social skills just from being told, I would not have been going to those talks. I wouldn't have needed to since I was 10, since that's about when I started hearing it. So I went to school, and I got my master's in organizational leadership, also known as remedial office politics. I took a lot of courses on negotiation and dispute resolution and found out for sure what I already knew. I was terrible. We'd have these role plays in class, and I wouldn't get a deal, even on the really easy ones. My professors were kind of baffled because the problem wasn't that I was too aggressive or too passive, and that's the common thing. I would just get really stubborn, and it was really ineffective overall. So I kind of wondered, maybe our whole field does something like that. I didn't know what, but something like it. And this slide did not come out. Anyway, so in dispute resolution field, we talk about conflict resolution styles or negotiation styles. And you sort of have one axis that's your degree of assertiveness, how much you care for your own outcome, and another axis that is your degree of cooperativeness, how much you care about the other person's outcome. No one style is better than any other, supposedly. Everybody, all of them are useful at different times. Everybody tends to have little different preferences. If you're interested in conflict resolution and negotiation in general, Bargaining for Advantage by Shell is a great book. And again, I've got a handout with note references. And it has a test of your style preferences at the end, so you can check it out. So let's go through the different styles. If you're very assertive and also very cooperative, that's the win-win style. That's collaborating. It's great when you have plenty of time, when the stakes are pretty high, when it's really important to find innovative solutions. It's not as great when you don't have the time, or the stakes just aren't worth that effort, or the people you're working with are not going to collaborate back. If you're really assertive but not very cooperative, that's the win-lose style, called the competing style. It's good when it's very important that you get your way and you don't have to work with them again. It's not so good if you still have to work with them later. If you're kind of middling on both... If you're kind of middling on both cooperativeness and assertiveness, that's compromising. It's kind of a win some, lose some. It's quick, it's easy, it's fair. It's great if you need something that is quick and easy and fair. It is less great if you need innovative solutions. It's also not good if the illusion of fairness means you give up stuff that's really important, maybe without even realizing it. If you're neither assertive nor cooperative, you are avoidant. Sometimes being avoidant is a good idea when the stakes are too low or the risk is too high. It can be a good stalling tactic. Diplomats are supposed to be these great negotiators, but the research actually shows they're really great at avoiding stuff. How, of course, sometimes too much avoidance can lead to miscommunication and resentment. Finally, if you're not assertive but you are cooperative, that's the accommodating style. That's a good idea when the issue at stake isn't important to you, but the relationship really is. It can also be a good idea if you're going to lose anyway, and you might as well get points for being gracious. It's a bad idea if you give away all the important stuff right away. So here is my research question again. How do the conflict resolution style preferences of information security personnel compare with the norms for the U.S. workforce? There are a bunch of tests for this. I used the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode indicator, which it's been in use for about 40 years. It's kind of corporate astrology, but you know, there's a lot of research for it, so you can say it means something. To be honest, I didn't expect to get much in the way of results. Most research just doesn't. To my surprise, I did. My sample of 45 information security professionals were significantly different from the norms for the U.S. workforce. So what did I find? I found that we were significantly less accommodating than everybody else. The median... I know, right? The median was at the 30th percentile, but the mode where most of us landed was at the 16th percent.
I'm sorry, was that 60th or 16th?
16th. You know, that's like, you say no just to say no. I call it the cut off your nose to spite your face orientation. How many have done this? Yeah, I see some people. Okay. So what this means is that we have a really short supply of one of the basic tools of negotiation. When all that you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you don't have a hammer, nothing looks like a nail. We don't accommodate, even when it would be in our best interests, even when it would be a good idea. I don't know why we're like this. It makes some sense. Our job involves saying no a lot. I don't know if the field selects for people who do this, or if, you know, we just weed out all the people who don't like it or can't stand working with us. I'm not sure. Every other style preference was pretty normal. Collaborating was the same as everybody else. Competing, avoiding, and compromising. Just the same. So why do we get told all the time that we need to collaborate more? I thought about it, and I've got a theory. One of the ways you signal a willingness to collaborate is by accommodating a little in the beginning. You have to give some to get some. If you don't do that, or let me rephrase that, when I didn't do that, people would not try to collaborate with me because it's actually stupid to try to collaborate with someone who won't collaborate back. It does not work. So I was basically telling them, yeah, don't collaborate with me, ever. Unfortunately, this is a big problem. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, is really big deal for all the research in psychology on persuading people. And the number one thing is the law of reciprocity. You do something nice for them, they'll do something nice for you. If we reflexively avoid doing anything for anybody else, if we reflexively avoid accommodating, we don't have one of the basic tools that we need. I'm not saying that we need to become accommodators. Obviously, we can't. But what I am saying is we could do a lot better with the social influence stuff. Now, a lot of geeks, or at least I, had a big problem where I, sincerely and stupidly believed that using anything other than my Vulcan logic to persuade people was manipulative and wrong. This is silly. It's one of the basic ways we convince people to do things that they may not yet understand is in their best interests. Also, the idea that people are or should be purely rational is just not correct even in the neuroscience. This is a pretty cool book, Descartes' Error by Antonio Damasio. One of the case studies is someone who had a traumatic brain injury. And everything else was perfectly normal. He was reasonably smart. He was, unimpaired except for having, no emotions. He was purely rational. He was almost completely non-functional. Besides, would you rather be right or would you rather get things done? Being right and $5 might get you a cup of coffee. I found this book really helpful for finally actually learning about office politics. So what can we actually do? First of all, that book Influence, Law of Reciprocity, start with concessions. Find something to concede. I'm not saying give away, the security farm. I'm saying look for something you can accommodate people on and do that. When they tell you to pick your battles, what they don't say is you also need to pick battles to lose. One thing I realized was that if I didn't care about something, I really just didn't care about it. It wasn't that I would never accommodate on anything. Sometimes I did on stuff I just didn't care about. But I never really framed it as being accommodating, so I never got points for it. So that's something that we need to do, is bring the donuts. And when we do pick the battles that we want to win, we should make sure that they're ones that actually matter. There has been a ton of research over the years about how little a lot of password requirements actually help. Complexity, how often you change your passwords and stuff. It doesn't do that much. So why are we still fighting that? We should stop it. Another important thing is to understand what we're actually asking. This is a pretty classic paper in information security. It shows that users are being rational when they ignore security advice. We ask them to spend more time doing some things than any expected benefit they would get. That's totally rational. We have a bad habit of asking users to do stuff that doesn't really benefit them that much. We should feel bad. My next suggestion... My next suggestion is one of my favorite. Admitting you're wrong is really hard. The first few times, it's kind of like pulling out fingernails. Why are you making me do this? But it helps, and it has some really surprising effects. First of all, you don't have that stupid argument over who's right and who's wrong. People will come to you more because they know you won't have that stupid argument over who's right and who's wrong. They're more likely to listen to you because they know that if you're wrong about something, you'll concede that. And, this one really surprised me. But if you admit you're wrong early and often, and just move on, and there's no argument, people forget you were wrong in the first place. You start getting a reputation for always being right. This is super cool. You should totally try it. Another important tactic is to let people save face. I used to think that allowing people the illusion that they didn't lose badly was manipulative. That was dumb. People will forgive you for winning an argument. They will not forgive you for making them look bad. So stop it. Don't do that. I still have a hard time with this. Interest-based negotiation is what most people mean when they talk about collaboration. The idea is that you have an interest in, say, passwords being sent encrypted. That interest might come with the position everybody should use FTPS, but maybe they don't like FTPS. I don't know why someone wouldn't like FTPS. I don't know why someone would care, but there are people that genuinely do not like FTPS. Would IPsec or Connect Direct or something else work for them? Maybe it would. Maybe it would be enough for the security issue. Maybe it wouldn't. The point is to explore all those issues and find out the possibilities. This is called expanding the pie. One thing that is important to note is that once you've expanded the pie and created all this extra value, it's really helpful to have somebody who's good at the competitive style along with you, so you get your fair share of all this extra value. Another problem is that we forget that we are domain experts in a field that's really hard and counterintuitive to others. We can see the patterns instantly. Other people have to think them through very slowly, and they might still make mistakes. They're not stupid for that. We are equally stupid in their fields. The different types of thinking are discussed in Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a really cool book. Any security solution that depends on people thinking through rationally, including security people, is not going to scale. It just won't. Gary Klein's Power of Intuition is a book about how experts really make decisions. He's done the research. They're not using that slow type of thinking. They're using the fast pattern recognition stuff. They're just really good at it. The Power of Intuition helps you develop that ability. If you want to understand what users are thinking and why they are doing the things that they're doing, this is a great paper to start with. It compares the behavior of expert and non-expert users in protecting ourselves online. Their behavior is really quite different. The non-expert users, one thing that's worth noting, a lot of what they think they have to do is stuff we were teaching them 10 years ago and insisting on. We actually won. It's kind of late now and everything's changed and the message hasn't gotten out. So we need to do better about that. I've always been told that you need to make the other person think it's their idea. How do you do that? I had no clue. One way to do that is called motivational interviewing. It is a counseling technique for eliciting, people's intrinsic motivations for doing stuff that's good for them, but really hard, like quitting drugs or doing exercise programs or whatever. It's taken up by a lot of coaches. It is being used by some people in information security. They say it works great for them. It's worth learning about. And finally, I thought I would talk a little bit about how I got better social skills for real. It wasn't learning any of the tactics that I'd been told since I was 10. It wasn't, practice in social skills. I needed to become a different person. I needed to become less reactive and able to actually pick my response instead of just sort of do whatever came naturally, which clearly wasn't working. Two things worked for me. One of them was developing an exercise habit. If you like running, run. If you like yoga, do yoga. I like lifting weights because life really changes when you can deadlift that person who is annoying you. Especially if that person is yourself. Another thing that helped was a meditation practice. There's a lot of misconceptions about meditation, and frankly, a lot of meditators are kind of annoying. I find this particular book really accessible for skeptical atheist types like me, both exercise and meditation have helped me to be able to take a step back, decide what to do instead of reacting with my usual, I'm a low accommodator. I just say no. It's easy. So what can I do instead? I can start with some concessions. I can look for some concessions to find. I can bring some donuts. I can make sure I'm really careful about which battles I want to win and get the points for the ones I want to lose. I can make sure I'm understanding what I'm asking. And am I asking to do something that is actually reasonable for them to do? Does it benefit them at all? Or does it just make my job easier? We have a problem with that one. I can admit when I'm wrong, or if I'm really, really sure I'm not, I can ask them to help me understand what they're thinking. Help me understand why they think I'm wrong. I can make sure I'm letting them save face. I can try some interest-based negotiation, find out what the interests behind the positions are. I can look for patterns that maybe they're not seeing, so they don't have to. I can learn about what they're really thinking and doing, or I can try some techniques from motivational interviewing. So here's the deal. I'd like you all to try this. Next time you're having a conflict and it's not getting fixed and you don't know why, try one of these and see if it helps. Let me know. I'm on Twitter. Tell me how it went. And if it went badly, I want to know that too, because then I can stop telling people, maybe you should try this. Who knows? Any questions? Yeah.
How do you encourage positive feedback loops?
How do you encourage positive feedback loops?
Okay, I have an example. So,
okay, that's helpful.
we don't want to be an InfoSec that says no. So when a person reports a phishing link or they say, I clicked on this, we don't jump on them. We say, thank you for reporting this. We'll take care of it. Please be careful with the future. So we don't want to be here, a center of the corporation.
We don't. That's just a matter, I say just, but actually it's really hard for some organizations. Make sure that everybody knows. This is kind of like the admitting you're wrong. It's more important to actually be secure than to look like you were secure. Yeah?
Quick question. Lost this one. Have you been able to tie our propensity for not being accommodating to incentives that are unique to the security industry? In other words, because we're measured to be in a particular way, that's why we're not accommodating?
Like I said, I didn't really research why we were like this. That would be really hard to pick apart. I think the issue is just, it's our job to say no a lot. Sometimes we just can't be accommodating. And we will select for the people who are comfortable with that and weed out the people who aren't. And maybe also select for the people who like working with people who say no all the time. And weed all the people who cannot stand us. Yeah?
Have you looked at gender stereotypes in this research, or the roles that gender contributes here?
I did look at gender stereotypes. I actually found that the style preferences for the U.S. workforce were not really, there was no significant difference between genders. And my sample of 45 was just not big enough for me to have pulled anything out there. Yeah? No. Okay. Yeah. That would be cool. Basically, I paid for all those tests myself. And so, if anybody here would like to do a grant, that'd be super cool. All right, thank you.